And my response would be, well, his girlfriend's happy he didn't come first. Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, George has got middle child syndrome and he's fucked.
Just call him the Audi Toto.
Yeah.
Of him being referred to.
Welcome back, idiots and gentle idiots. Welcome back to Idiots of F1, the show where three again today, people who love Formula One far more than they understand it have somehow made that entertaining and enjoyable for 4 years running. I'm Ollie, and joining me today, as they have done with extraordinary grace and very little complaint for the last 3 episodes this season, are Tay and Ev. Tay and Ev, hello.
Evening or morning.
Well,
good morning.
Depends where you are. Ev, would you at least say hello to people?
No.
Yeah, you're such a rude prick.
Come on.
I nodded at them as they ended the podcast.
Welcome. Ev's like the bouncer at the front, just staring at people and nodding. Hey, you will notice something, a presence, or rather the absence of one. Digby is not here. Again, jokes aside, it's show season. The man is gracing many other thousands on the stage, but he sends his apologies and his love. We miss you, Dugs. We miss you, Doug. We miss you, Diggs.
We already forgot his name.
Back in your armchair.
I miss Dugby.
Dugby.
Right, actually, just on Diggs, despite not being here, he isn't losing the quiz. The scoreboard going in today is Ev on 2, Digby on 1, Tay on 0. Digby is beating you, Tay, from his sofa. He's not even involved.
Yeah, well, it's because when he was here, he won it.
Yeah. Yeah. And since... Anyway, so here's what
and
Tay
I've
looks
done
like.
jack shit.
I've done fuck all. We've got a full China GP review, and as always, there's a bit to get through. Antonelli winning, Hamilton finally pulling on the red in the podium, the great McLaren DNS disaster of 2026, Verstappen retiring, and then quote unquote by some throwing his toys out of the cot. I do wonder when he'll run out of toys, though. We're going to settle the prediction scorecard and how we fared from the race results. All three of us have calls on the line from last week, and the results, actually, I'd say they're better than Melbourne. It's a bit of a mixed bag, let's say. And then after that, we're going to dive into Hush, you've been paying attention, Ev versus Tay, Tay's chance for Lewis-like redemption. And from that, we'll close out with what's Verstappen in. A few stories outside of the race weekend from last week you need to know about, none of which involve a car actually finishing a race. Actually, one does. Yeah, good old Sonny Hayes. Hey, not a serious question, not a test of knowledge or character. Well, actually, it's definitely a judgment of character. It's ultimately just me putting these two idiots on the spot for the entertainment of people who've decided to spend their morning or evening or whatever time of day with us. And Ev, just to give Tay a bit of creative inspiration and time to figure out how he'll avoid tripping on the first hurdle.
He wants to go. Let him go.
Surely not. I just want to say, I really felt that Tay tripped last week and the week before, and those shaky starts, a bit like Antonelli, have really rattled you, haven't they, mate? Like,
yeah, you fucked me. Now I'm all in my head about it. So it's like, you're a fucking boring prick and you can't do improv.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm much better at I can't do questions. Just give me, let's just have a conversation.
You're on a fucking podcast and you can't do questions. Tay just wants to sit there and smile and nod.
Have a conversation. Discussions.
All right. So do you want me to start with Tay or am I starting with Ev? No, fuck it. I'm going Ev. Ev.
Yeah, do Ev.
You're first, okay? You're the steward. You've reviewed the evidence. You have deliberated. And you have decided formally, officially, that Max Verstappen's comments about the 2026 regulations constitute bringing the sport into disrepute. You now have 30 seconds to tell him that in person, face to face. What's the penalty and what exactly are you saying to the man? Go. Give us your icebreaker, big guy.
Yeah, my icebreaker. What I would do, I'd say, Max, come in.
Sit down.
Sit on my lap.
Being the cultural touchstone that I am, I would speak to him in fluent Dutch.
Smoking a pancake?
And I would I would say pipe and a waffle.
I love
cigarette and a pancake.
I was back into this. Digby would be so proud.
He would appreciate my cultural decorum and then that's how we
I
would.
will say, Ev, I have seen Max Verstappen wash journalists of genuine integrity. If you were standing in front of him, you would be so fucked. You would be so fucked. You would just
I don't have any
You're still
integrity.
hesitating.
yeah. Okay. There you have it. Tay, it's your turn.
That was nothing.
See, I'm smoking a pancake. Yeah. The F1 digital team has had a tough few weeks. After Melbourne, they posted a graphic about overtake numbers. The fans lost their minds in the comments. F1 hid over 1,000 of them. The internet noticed. Their own post got community noted. So they've come to you. You're running the F1 social media accounts for 1
no
week.
one ever.
You've been given one brief. Don't hide the comments. The first post, what are you putting out and how long before they fire you?
Someone's wrote in asking us as F1 how happy we are that Lewis is on the podium.
Mhm,
And my
mhm.
response would be, well, his girlfriend's happy he didn't come first.
I thought he was going to say, someone tweeted the F1 and said, someone tweeted the F1 and said, this race was boring. And then Tay got a flashback. He's like, oh, boring.
Yeah.
No,
I triggered.
PTSD. Fuck, Tay, that is outrageous from you. That was outrageous. Tell me, were you somewhat inspired by Chris Pratt and that scene in
yes, in Parks and Recs. Yeah, 100%. It's like,
okay.
well, 100%. I had to think of something. I had to tie something in with that.
Yeah, but you didn't think of it. Chris Pratt did.
I said it differently, Evan.
You
fucking beaver.
Right. With that mess now out of the way, let's talk about the mess that was the Chinese Grand Prix. It's time for rear view review, Chinese style. It's round 2 of the 2026 season, and the big question before we get into the results, before we get into the carnage, before we get into what 4 cars, not even starting the race, says about the state of this sport right now, is a simple one. As a genuine ranking out of 10, gentlemen, without getting into the new regs, the dynamics and all of that shit yet, did you enjoy it? And very quickly, why or why not? Ev, I'm going to start with you again.
Yeah, I did. And I did because Ferrari outdid Mercedes at their own game. And it kind of, you can tell it must have pissed them off. Because, and this should have been a track that is one of, if not the most Mercedes-esque tracks, because it's got such a long 2 straights. So they should have driven off way into the sunset.
Well, they did by the end.
Yeah,
we will get to the results. But you enjoyed it. You loved it. You thought it was exciting. I mean, yeah, was it? You really?
Yeah, all right.
Just okay, cool. There you go. Fuck. Just let my balloon down slowly, mate. Tay?
Yeah. Those I have to give credit to.
Ev, you didn't give me a ranking out of 10. Out of 10. Ev,
I'd give it an 8. Pretty good.
8 out of 10. Okay.
I mean, the way you described it, I didn't think you were going 8 with that.
Well, because it's so early in the season, it's hard to give it a.
Come. That's the level of excitement Ev's got. Sorry about that, everybody. Okay, right. Let's move this on.
A video makes it just so much better.
Why? Because I'm just so stern faced. Oh fuck! All right, anyways, Tay off. Ev's like apparently super excited. 8 out of 10. What do you got, man? Did you love it?
I'd probably say a 7, but
Okay.
Probably say a 7, but
this
only
isn't
because
Price is Right. It's not like you undercut. Like it's not the winner.
Yeah, no. I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not trying to undercut him. I'm trying to be realistic.
Okay.
The beginning was awesome, and I think I'm always going to enjoy the start. But the start then plays out longer than it has in previous seasons. That's for sure. Whereas there's a lot more battling.
Yeah. Because here's the thing, right? The paddock cannot agree on this, and I mean genuinely cannot agree. Like we touched on last week, following the first race of this season in Melbourne, you've got people on completely opposite ends of the spectrum, and both of them think the other side is deluded. So in the pro corner, you've got Dominic Kelly, so the CEO of F1. Obviously, he slept very well, apparently, or at least pretending to, because let's be honest, the F1 are on a tear to do everything they can to build it up. Like, actually, when I was researching for this episode, you cannot find really, other than the drivers talking about a bad weekend or how they're the winners and losers, there is no negative press about like the cars. Obviously, they don't cover it in social. I'm sure you guys have picked up not a lot of radio messages this year either.
No, there isn't. I tried, yeah.
And I get it. They're the promoters, they're the owners. Yeah, it's vital that they are seen to be projecting a very, very good image of the F1, which is why I jokingly, but also somewhat interestedly asked you, Ev, about at what point, does Max Verstappen get away with keep talking so badly about these regs? Because it can't be good for the sport.
Yeah, he's not happy with Max for all of that. And it does kind of undercut the referee. They're never organizations never like referees getting criticized.
No, of course not.
Well, it's because it's a challenge in the game, right?
Did you see in the press stuff before the race, or before free practice and all that, how there was a moment when they were joking about swearing, and how I think it was Kimi or one of them was like, "Oh, it's only like €100 for me if I swear," and Max is like, "Only 100? It's $5,000 for me."
Yeah. Well, he's had his moments in the press, but look, anyways, it's not just the F1, it's not just the CEO. You've got drivers too, right, that are coming out in the pro corner. Drivers like Hamilton, who called it, and I'm quoting directly here, the best racing experience in F1, right? As in, like, it's the best experience he's had in the F1 in his, 20 years or 21 years? Similarly, obviously, Charles Leclerc, his teammate, mid-battle with his own teammate for a podium spot, got on the radio and said, actually, this is quite fun. The overtake numbers we're up on Melbourne. There's some really awesome moments. You've both actually ranked the race quite highly in terms of excitement. And yeah, I mean, you can't get away from the fact that majority of the middle of a F1 Grand Prix is usually pretty boring. When the cars are settled, you're waiting for safety cars. That hasn't changed. That's not this year that's suddenly new, right? And Tay, I like your idea or your point that the style of races have always been great, but this year it just seems to be longer. That greatness has lasted longer. And again, from me, some genuine shouting in line with some of those, or some will say manufactured wheel-to-wheel racing, but it's still wheel-to-wheel racing, right? And I'm not gonna sit on a fence any longer. I'm loving it. I'm really enjoying the F1. I love the race. I was screaming it. Yeah, I'm loving it, baby. Play that. What do they call it? The jingle.
The sting. Yeah.
Yeah, the sting. There you go, Ev. But then in the other corner, amongst a few new additions like Carlos Sainz, sits the figure of Max Verstappen. So in another weekend to forget, that included retiring from 6th place with a car cooling problem, Max walked straight into the media pen and continued not to mince his words. Some specific comments were, "It's terrible. If someone likes this, they really don't know what racing is about." I'll credit him. Yeah, fine. I like it. Maybe I don't know what racing's about. Maybe I am a Drive to Survive fan, but he's called the regulations fundamentally flawed. He called it a joke. He's called it political. And this is the bit I find most interesting. He said he'd feel exactly the same if he was winning. Quote, "I care about the racing product." Now, we all know, and we've spoken about it, and we're actually going to talk in What's Verstappen and about his endeavors for pursuing other car racing, initiatives. He really does care about the product. I think we all know that. And you watch his own documentary that he's been making, and he's Verstappen Racing. There's some really great stuff out there. But interestingly, Toto Wolff's take on that, I think, was pretty sharp. He said Verstappen's horror show at Red Bull, the starts, the reliability, the car that's genuinely nowhere, is actually probably colouring in everything he says. And I think there's something to that, right? It's easy to love the show when you're winning it. I mean, simply ask Mercedes or Ferrari, albeit Ferrari's not winning, they are able to play,
but they're still successful. Yeah.
But adding to Max's criticism, others this week, as I mentioned, Sainz has come out. He finished 9th and he said F1 is trying to sell something we know isn't right. Everyone's favourite oxygen thief also got in on the act, with Ralf Schumacher raising concerns about driver input in what are effectively artificial overtakes. Tay, Ev, look, noting what you've said about the race, where are your thoughts in Max's belief and hence running commentary that the product is broken? Or is this old man with, a terrible car shouting at the clouds?
I can see where he's coming from, and I definitely feel like it's not good when you have 6 cars not make it to the end. When you see that, there's like, okay, there's fundamental issues here with the engine and the PCU and all of that stuff. So,
but is that so different to the start of any new regs? Like, don't all like Ev?
well, see,
I mean,
I don't remember that for the downforce era. I don't remember seeing the ground
I don't think they were
effect.
as big. They weren't power unit stuff though, was it, Ev?
That
the last
was all the
regulations.
porpoising.
It was the porpoising, which was
they
the biggest
never
issue.
got on top of.
No,
exactly.
Those regulations weren't like these regulations.
One thing that doesn't really get spoken enough about is that while Mercedes and Ferrari and probably Red Bull and McLaren, they can hit and do hit the cost cap. Nobody else can actually hit it. So if you're trying to ask these teams, Gene Haas doesn't put a penny into Haas Racing. It's all from sponsorship. And they're not raising $140 million a year in sponsorship alone. And so to expect those teams to react from the first...
Well, they got no money to fix the shit anyway, right?
That's right.
Like, if there's a problem, they can't fix it.
If you haven't given these guys enough time in testing to figure it out, it's too expensive to figure out.
But Max's issue is less about how Red Bull are performing, because remember this time last year, Red Bull were also doing pretty shit, right? It took, this is why Horner ultimately ended up on the chop. But Max's problem is less to do with that, and I appreciate Toto's point of trying to suggest that it's all connected, right? But Max's issue is the fact that it's manufactured racing. Like, it's pressing a fucking button. Yeah. We all spoke about it at the beginning of the season. This is the biggest change to Formula One regulations in possible history, or at least for a very long time. The combustion versus electric engine is obviously the big critical piece here. You're talking about Mercedes running away in the distance, but in looking back to 2014, which is, I think, maybe more in line by way of scale for changes implemented, because that's when they went to hybrid for the first time, or have I got that wrong?
No, I think that's right.
No, okay. So they went to hybrid. They brought in these new regulations. Correct me if I'm wrong, that's when they also introduced DRS, which is the biggest fucking gimmick in F1, right?
Yep. And that's also to do with, so these modern tracks that are humongous are designed for really the bigger cars, and those straights in China, for example, are there to give a car that's a second behind, but distance-wise. By the time you get to the end, they're meant to be catching up.
But that's manufactured racing. Like, why are we all sitting here talking like pressing a boost button is suddenly a fucking problem? Is any different to DRS, which I think, again, like, a lot of the drivers, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm sure, and actually maybe it wasn't this bad then, or it's not this bad now. It's just we have more access to what people can say. We have more opportunity to talk about it because of things like social media. But DRS, my understanding, was a very similar manufactured, gimmicky intervention to help with takeovers. But Ev, at the end of the day, Mercedes ran away with it and they won 8 championships in a row. Like, we're not looking at anything different or new here.
When they were winning 8 in a row, Mercedes were spending 10 to 1.
True. They didn't have the cost cap.
And now we've got the cost cap, and there's no latitude. You've got a very complicated setup with the cars. The bigger they are, the more power they need to get down the straight. The larger wake that gets left behind, which makes it harder to follow. And it's just everything's them like going out of the way to make the dumbest decisions to make it dumber.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm unfair, and this is the difference between you and I, because I'm a Drive to Survive era fan. You're somebody that's been around for a long time, but that's why I wanted to bring your attention to when those first hybrid regs were put in, where DRS was put in, because I'm struggling to understand what the fucking problem is, other than the fact that the rawness of racing, and I'm talking engine sounds, fucking electric injection. I get Max. The irony of Max is he's a video game racer, and he doesn't want to race video games in real life. Like that I get the whole harvesting and kind of exploiting your energy, but like
they wanted they brought those regulations in for a couple of reasons. One was environmental.
Fuck that. I'm sorry. I'm so
I'm
done with
bored
that
of hearing that shit.
I'm bored of hearing that shit. But also, like, F1, grow the fuck up. You fly 7 Boeings around every race. Like,
they went from like V10s,
change your fucking
V8s,
calendar,
and then V6, V6 hybrid turbo.
Yeah.
Never had we had turbos in the 80s, but they were fucking deadly.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the reasons they wanted to look as if they're more responsible. Then there was also concerns with another type of environmental impact, which was sound pollution.
Yes.
That they didn't want screaming V10s, which are deafening, and
Yes.
people don't want that in their backyard.
Well, then don't fucking move near a
Change your
racetrack.
house.
Yeah.
Change your fucking house.
And so they wanted to,
Ah.
and they wanted more street races because at the time they thought, well, that's going to attract new fans.
Yeah.
And we've just been lying in that bed for over 10 years now.
Well,
And-
much longer. And,
Yeah,
and
it's
like
like-
the bed is well and truly made, which actually, it takes me to the next point, and I want to pose one more question before we move on to the actual results. Yeah, because I think there is one important thing to cover off before we move on. So this time last week, we were talking about China obviously being a very, very different race to Melbourne, hence why the FIA were not going to be reactive in making any changes immediately after Melbourne. They wanted to see how it went in China because it was supposed to be a track, which I still don't understand, that suits these new regs better. The racing was great. I think everybody has a consensus that the racing was pretty good. There are a lot of very hardcore fans, many on our socials just ripping it. But the FIA, after suggestions that they might address it immediately after China, have made a call that they will not. They have announced that they will not make any changes. They will delay, or not delay, but confirming that they will not revisit any of the regulation changes that may or may not be being thrown around until Miami or post-Miami, thereabouts.
Well, you've got the 3 weeks now that we're not going to have racing.
5 weeks.
5 weeks.
5,
yes.
yeah.
So-
So we will cover off Bahrain and Saudi Arabia because actually I've got a question I want to pose to both of you about the saving grace there. I think not just for F1, but for a couple of teams. But the thing is, boys, you cannot have your drivers, which are your most important ambassadors for the sport. They've got more followers, a bigger platform than probably all of the F1 combined, at least on social. And certainly they are the assets that get chopped up and shared around because there's only 2 hours of racing a week, right? There's only so many highlights you can run with. It's the stuff that happens in the presses and the media.
In the
What did they
in-between.
say? How did it come across? The in-between, which Max has been synonymous for pretty much his whole career, if I'm being frank. But you can't have these drivers running around like this. Now, I suspect that you've got a couple more weeks of the F1 just kind of letting it go before they start doing what they did with their social media and deleting comments, but actually banning the drivers from saying or discussing certain things. But if you are the FIA right now or the F1, I made a quip about the CEO sleeping well because I think he would be quite chuffed, at least at how the race spectacle was. I believe the broadcast numbers are also wonderful, but what the fuck are you going to do? What can you do?
Yeah. Why would you paint yourself into a corner?
Yeah.
Yeah, MBS wanted to introduce V8s for next year, and then they got shut down. I think they are going to revisit that. All you can do is make the battery give out more power or something.
Yeah. okay.
How how they've got their like mandate that they've given themselves for like what is it 2030 or 2035
Yeah,
For what?
for being eco.
yeah.
The
Carbon neutral or
that
some
yeah,
shit,
carbon
right?
neutral, that
Yeah,
shit.
carbon
right?
neutral, let's just be clear, is not carbon zero.
No,
right?
I know.
Yeah.
No, or not
But
carbon
how-
negative is what you want it to be.
Yeah.
How? So I guess that's the thing, right? The question is like, if they went against that now and was like, "Fuck it, we're bringing back in all of it."
Strip the
How
fucking
many
Band-Aid
people
off,
do
mate.
you think would be pissed by that compared to thank fucking God we should have done this 10
Well,
years ago?
Well,
Yeah.
okay, let me ask you a question. How many people would be pissed versus how many people would even fucking know?
No, well, that's
right?
true as well.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, the only people that you risk pissing off genuinely are the long-standing, long-serving fans who understand the racing, have a huge passion and loyalty for what good craft looks like. What Max is talking about. The majority of the fans who turn up to watch one race every now and then, or maybe talk about it on their socials every now and then,
Yeah.
actually would have fucking no idea, which is why we exist, mind you. We are here to help people understand the technical and challenging side, the
The
complicated
idiots.
side of F1 in as idiotic way as possible so that you don't feel as so stupid. You can let us take that stupidity for you. But I mean, the point being, Tay, is I don't think a lot
It
of
doesn't
people would
fucking
know,
matter.
let alone
Yeah.
give a fuck. And to be
Yeah.
honest with you, those real genuine, like, I'm not sitting on any, I'm not taking any sides here. I'm not pointing fingers or having a go or making a comment in one way or the other, but just a dance. But for those climate change advocates, I'm not saying any of us are either nor, we're staying out of it, but they would be the ones that notice, but they're also the ones that wouldn't be watching F1.
No. See, that's the thing, right? So, like, what's the plan here? Are we going to go full electric? Like,
well, how can you? You let Formula E come.
Exactly.
Well,
and so that's the thing.
Well, my car has engine noises, radio engine noises, so maybe that's what F1 becomes.
So when they went to this was the dawn of electric cars, right? Like the very first Teslas. And so
which is where everyone thought it was going to become
and
so big and everything would be electric.
And so what we have now since then,
I want to know where their batteries are coming from.
Is
lithium.
Exactly.
Yeah, but the carbon footprint of a Tesla is enormous.
Well,
it's disgusting.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's stay on track.
we digress.
We now have carbon neutral fuel, which isn't commercially available, but it is available. You would be able to buy. Yeah, teams would be able to buy enough barrels for each weekend.
Yeah,
and
it's pretty expensive at the moment.
Well, yeah, but it's hydrogen and carbon dioxide put together. It's hydrocarbon.
Is it definitely hydrogen? Okay.
And it works in an engine. It works like petrol does. You don't need it to be hydrogen engine, which is a whole different thing.
Yeah.
And so
make it a V8 then.
Yeah, you can make it a V8. V10s are the optimal power to weight ratio.
Whichever. I don't give a shit.
Okay,
whatever.
So just to that point, and I know we've digressed slightly here, but one of the key things about the car manufacturers that enter F1, it was always looked upon, particularly for some brands, as a marketing exercise for
Mercedes.
But for brands like Mercedes, like you go back 20 years ago, 10 years ago, a lot of the innovation that's done in the F1 cars has found its way to street cars, from the paddles, from the hybrid engines. Like, I mean, wouldn't it be wonderful? Yeah. If out of all of this, Ev, to your point, comes the ability for on-road cars to move away from petroleum to hydrogen, because the F1 done that, then great. Just bring back loud engines.
Yeah.
Cool.
Bring back combustion engines.
So, safety harness seatbelts came from Formula One in the 40s,
true.
50s.
Actual seatbelts, that's right, yeah.
Rear view mirrors are from Formula One. Side mirrors are from Formula One. This goes.
They don't have rear views in Formula One cars.
No, they used
old
like
ones.
The old,
yeah.
No
like
way.
in the old Sterling Moss days. I mean,
yeah.
Wow.
They couldn't see anybody coming up behind them, so someone thought, well, we'll put a mirror up there, or you put one mirror on the driver's side.
Soon we'll be getting halos.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's called a B pillar.
Yeah, and carbon fiber was made for Formula One.
Yep, and that's transferred over to cars and a lot of cars as well. Yeah,
and the technology of carbon fiber is incredible nowadays. So all of that's driven by Formula One.
Let me tie this in a bow and wrap it back in full circle. You said that the pursuit of hybrid engines for F1 began back before 2014 because that's where everyone thought cars were going. And cars are. Like, don't get me wrong, the electric market is massive. But this is a really interesting fork in the road for Formula One, right? Because they are, I think what they are finding is maybe there is a point so far you can take it. And we've spoken about this for years about, well, how far can you go electric before you just become
our Western civilization has already bridged this once before. And it was in the industrial age, where horses used to be a beast of burden.
Horse and carriage.
And they would just die in the street, and you just leave them in the street.
Like an Aston Martin on the F1 track.
Nice.
And then when internal combustion came around, that slowly got rid of horses because they're faster, they're easier to work with, cheaper.
That's where horsepower came from.
And now we have sports cars that people only take out horses on the weekend if they've got a horse. And it's going to be like that with
If you're
old
rich.
Ferraris.
Petrol
If you're
cars.
rich, you're going to have a
Petrol cars.
petrol car that you're only going to have on the weekend.
Yeah.
And so if that's the case, we have thoroughbred horse racing, which is $1 trillion industry.
Oh, well done, Ev.
Why wouldn't you just have
finally made
Formula
sense.
One?
Yeah,
finally
we got
made
there at the
sense.
end, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're
Well
welcome.
done.
You're
Well
welcome.
done.
Look, as it stands, no changes before Miami. There's team principals meeting. There'll be a technical working group the week after that. And if anything changes, it's not going to be until May, which means for better or for worse, what we saw in China is what we're going to get at Suzuka in 12 days' time, which, if I'm honest, I'm okay with. What I am not okay with, and I've mentioned this a few times, is the dominance from Mercedes. And in speaking of Mercedes dominance, let's run through the results. So starting at the front, which saw a back-to-back Mercedes 1-2, albeit in the reverse order to Melbourne. First place, clap, 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 the 19-year-old from Bologna who became the second youngest F1 race winner in history. And what a weekend for the little guy.
Youngest
I
pole.
mean, let me just belittle him. Like he's so cute.
No,
his little
it's
curly
great.
hair and
Good on
I hate
him.
I love him. But look, yeah, he also qualified on pole, which he was the youngest to ever do that. So from lights out, he pretty much led from the front. And let's be honest, he fought really well in those early laps to prove he deserved to be there. He had one genuinely terrifying moment with about 3 laps to go where he locked up massively. I think it was
No
like turn
pressure.
14. No pressure.
Yeah.
He was like 8-9 seconds ahead of George.
I wonder what he was thinking about.
Yeah, he was probably picturing
Don't
himself
crash,
on the
don't
podium.
crash, don't crash.
Well, I mean, look, he nearly donated the race with that. That could have been really bad. Had that been any other corner where the walls were closer, that could have been
That
really
would have
messy.
been a Norris in Russia with the rain.
Yeah.
Well, it's a bit different. I mean,
Little
the
bit the
rain
same.
alone, but no,
Little bit the same.
nothing to say. Fuck off. Leave Norris alone. Anyways,
Same.
Antonelli held on. He ended up finishing about 5.5 seconds clear of his teammate at the flag. Now, look, there's a lot to say about Kimi Antonelli. It's a shame Digby isn't here because I can already hear him telling everyone to calm down. But I want to start somewhere a little bit different because the podium ceremony might be the story of the weekend, possibly for the wrong reasons. Antonelli walks out onto the step, first Grand Prix win. The announcer opens his mouth. From Italy, Kimi Räikkönen, and it was the wrong last name. So I don't know if you caught that, Ev.
I did not.
Everyone laughed about it.
Yeah, I mean, look, the
It's
poor old
shockingly
Kimi
bad.
Antonelli
Yeah.
was genuinely baffled. He looked genuinely baffled. Russell
Yeah.
also looked pretty confused. Hamilton, who was standing right there, looked like he was trying not to laugh. But Mercedes posted the clip on social media with the caption, that doesn't sound right. There are 2
Lewis
Kimis
is
in
just
the
like
world.
sliding a $50 note to the announcer. Thanks, buddy.
F1 managed to get this wrong at the winner's first ever victory on the podium live.
Yeah, it's
mean,
pretty disappointing.
How does someone fuck that up? Like, Kimi Räikkönen retired in 2021. Like, he hasn't been on an F1 grid in 5 years, and he's not even fucking Italian. Like, how do you get that wrong?
It just shows you how much of a figure he was when he was part of
He
F1.
never said anything. He
I
never
know.
said anything.
But it's like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know who was the announcer.
Actually, good question. Actually, I don't know. I don't know who was the announcer.
You know,
I
who
think he
knows
was
what was going?
It might have been a Chinese celebrity or something. I
Yeah.
believe.
So,
Yeah.
like, who knows? Like, it
Yeah,
could have been
that's a
someone who had
shame.
no idea. Yes,
Probably
it's a shame for.
Drive to Survive fan.
Yeah, probably. It is a shame for Kimi, but also, you know, it will be remembered in a different sort of way.
Well, yeah, to that point, and back to the correct Kimi. Kimi is also the first Italian winner since, I think it's Fisichella in 2006.
Fisichella.
They said, yeah, it was like 20 years or something, right? Now, lads, again, I'm thinking of Digby right at this minute because I can imagine, I know how this conversation would go if he was here and how much he would love to bemoan all this shit. But Kimi's win was full of some glorious and wholesome moments, right? So to your point, Tay, there's a lot to remember beyond the fact that they got his name wrong. So you got genuine tears on the podium. You've got Bono, who's Hamilton's old race engineer, now works with Kimi, stepping up to collect the Constructors' Trophy on the podium, alongside all 3 Mercedes and Ferrari drivers. Obviously, of all the time for Kimi to win that, Lewis gets his first podium for Ferrari, and he's up there with them. You know, wrapping it all up was Toto calling it one of the best days he's ever had in F1. And given
All my
what
boys.
Toto's-
All my
Yeah,
boys up there.
well, given what his days in F1 look like, I think we can take that at face value, right? Like, he's had a lot of
Yeah.
very good days. yeah, he's a young gun defying the odds. They said he was too young to enter the F1, which may have some truth to it because I don't think Toto expected Lewis to leave when he did. They also said that he should start in a customer team like Williams, where Russell started, or Leclerc, who even started at Alpha before he joined Ferrari, rather than going straight to the top. But here we are, second season, second race, second in the Drivers' Championship. Now, I don't want to get into the same old bullshit that everyone else did. You know, the whole, can he be this year's world champion, blah, blah, blah. Even Toto has come out and tried to squash that shit because it's all way too premature. There's no doubt that Digby would agree with that and genuinely would be telling us.
If anybody knows about premature.
Well, anyone that would be saying something similar, Diggs would just be saying, shut the fuck up. So my question is, boys, is not, can he be the 2026 world champion? It's, how long does George and Kimi relationship stay solid? Is there a risk that we have another 25 McLaren situation unfolding? Or
I'm already seeing it.
Mercedes. Well, okay, will everyone at Mercedes, and maybe one for you, Ev, including the drivers, know that albeit they may not publicly decry it, George is their number one driver and there's nothing else to discuss?
Yeah, of course. But if Kimi just keeps winning, you can't argue against
Well, we saw that with Piastri.
Well, fuck, I'm not going to get into it. Piastri
Yeah.
fucked up the second half of his season. Yes, he had some calls go against him, but his form dropped off, right? But how long until George starts becoming, you know, the George that we often hear on the radio, but about his own teammate?
I think it wouldn't be far off if it's another, like, if Japan ends up being like China in that aspect. I reckon he'll be on it straight away. I was super disappointed with how George was when Kimi won. Like,
How so?
there was like on the,
what do you mean?
On the radio, you know, he, you know, came through that Kimi won, you know, and he was like, cool, good job, everyone. And there was nothing. There was no love to him going, oh, that's amazing. You know, you saw in direct contrast to how excited Lewis was for him.
Let me tell you, if that was me on the grid, there is no way I'd be excited about it. I would genuinely be going.
But but that's my point, right?
Yeah.
It's like George, I think, has this pre-notion in his head that he's going to fucking come away with it this season. And if Kimi's going to get in his way with he's going to be pissy about it.
The chucking the microphone, you know, when he's doing
he's antsy as fuck.
Smugness about it.
Antsy as fuck.
He's always been like that. He's always been like that.
So I think we're already there. I think we'll start seeing it. If we're not, if you're like, you talked about how there's not that much radio coming out, you're not hearing it. I reckon there's loads of stuff we're not hearing from George.
Well, there often is, like, that we don't get the full, unless you kind of get the pack or whatever. I mean, Ev, you've been around long enough. You've seen some of the mightiest battles of, obviously, you know, going back to Rosberg and Hamilton, Alonso and Hamilton. You've seen, I mean, Piastri and Lando last year. You know, when teammates go from being mates to, well, you know, enemies. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, particularly, right, and I think we have to acknowledge this, no one's really going to be able to compete with Mercedes for now. Maybe things will change when the next race. So those two are competing against each other. George's only benchmark is Kimi. So, I mean, Ev, what's your take? Is this a season waiting to implode? Are we gonna find ourselves in a situation where egos can't be managed, or you think that Kimi's so young he will do what he's told?
I think he'd do what he's told. George is, you know, the senior driver, and he's been patiently waiting.
Driver.
Yeah, he is experienced. You have to give. He's very good.
Yeah, for someone to kind of swoop in, if that's what Kimi can keep doing, or if Ferrari have some upgrades that do well for them, all of a sudden you might need a better strategy than just
letting
be
them race
faster. Yeah, you'll have to be like, well, you're gonna have to give him a toe.
So
that's
it's gonna be interesting. Well,
it's gonna be interesting. Yeah.
Can I offer my take? This might go down in the depths of social media as the worst take of all time. And I'm sure everyone will call me out on it. You fucking idiot. What do you fucking know about F1? Clue is in the name of the podcast. But here's my take. George will win this year's Drivers' Championship. Hold on. That's not the hot take. But in the same period, Toto will be in discussions with Max, who will get out of his Red Bull contract in line with his release clauses, and Mercedes will secure Max for 2027. Better car, better to drive, better chance of winning again. As much as Max is claiming this has got nothing to do with winning, it is fair to say, and that's why he has apparently these clauses in his contract for performance relation, because if he can't compete, he's not going to stick around. But it won't be Antonelli that makes room for him. It will be George. George will win the championship in a Mercedes and then be out of that team. What do you boys think of that?
Yeah, I can see that happening.
For fuck's sake. God damn it. Fuck. I thought for sure, come on, just give me some pushback here. Or you're going to sit there and go, nah, I could see that. I could see that happening too.
I mean, we sort of almost saw it happen last season. There was loads of talk about that potentially happening. And then Russell was there going, I'm insecure about my seat, blah, 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 blah. And then it didn't happen. I think you're right that Max will leave. I don't think he'll go to another team.
Ooh, okay. Well, we're not going to, I think we've talked that subject to death last year. So let's wait and see what happens over the next couple of months. On a slightly separate.
Appreciate your hot take, though.
Thank you. But still a very relevant note. I touched on it. You got Lewis, George, and Antonelli all on the podium together. Toto, all but gushing at his three boys all together, brought something into sharp focus for me. George is the middle child of Mercedes. So you've got the older child, Lewis. He's admired. He's respected. He's loved because he's the eldest. He's the pride of the pack, the one that set the path and showed the way.
I can relate.
Then you've got the youngest. You got the youngest, the sweet, the innocent, the smaller, but all the qualities of the eldest. Then you've got the forgotten middle, the beige. Not first, not last, just moseying along in the middle.
Lisa Simpson.
There's your episode title, by the way, for Drive to Survive next year, Netflix. George in the middle. That's
nice. Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, George has got middle child syndrome, and he's fucked. But let's keep moving through the rest of the podium. So
another hot take.
Another hot take. Speaking of Lewis, and in rounding out that podium, behind the 1 and 2 of Mercedes was, for the first time in 477 days, the return of Lewis Hamilton to a Grand Prix podium. So after 26 attempts, and not including a sprint race result, Lewis Hamilton finally got a champagne shower in red, earned in one of the most entertaining battles of the weekend. Lewis said afterwards, I definitely feel like I'm mentally and physically back to my best, probably because he's getting laid. But we should be honest about this. He did say something similar last year at this point when he won the sprint at the same race. So I think we should, and to be fair, this is my inner Digby coming out. We should note it. We should enjoy it, but we don't have to necessarily tattoo it on ourselves just yet. But the driving was superb. He and Leclerc went at it for that third place for lap after lap after lap, with Leclerc eventually losing out to perhaps, I think, maybe better tyre management from Lewis to finish fourth. But gents, importantly, and in a brilliant win for fans, Ferrari let them race. Fred Vasseur said afterwards it would have been unfair not to. As we touched on earlier, Charles said it was actually quite fun. Was that the right call from Ferrari, or did two drivers fighting each other hand Mercedes another 1-2 on a plate?
No, they were never going to beat them, were they? No.
That's right. I was just loading the question.
Hey, the only thing I questioned was why did they double stack? But it didn't.
Because last week they didn't.
I know. But it didn't seem to hinder them that much.
No.
But I'm glad that Lewis was able to get on the podium. It was great to see him up there. It was awesome, actually.
That sequence of Charles and Lewis fighting each other.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
Epic. And I mean, they touched. Yeah. They did touch.
Yeah, definitely. A little kiss.
I mean, you got to remember, these guys are doing this shit at 300 kilometers an hour. It is so incredible. Yeah, there are moments where you're just watching in the in-car cam and Charles's head, trying to check all the mirrors while driving. It's wild. It's beautiful. That, gents, is F1.
It's great to see. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
You just need that the entire fucking race.
Yeah. Well, after Charles came in fifth place, Ollie Behrman, which I think is fair to say the best of the rest. So he comes in fifth. He's back-to-back top 10 finishes for the 20-year-old in a Haas, right? And this one came after he had to take violent avoiding action on the opening lap when Hadjar spun right in front of him at turn 13. That was, again, exciting, but what the fuck? Ollie's words were, I'm lucky to be standing here in the presser afterwards, because it's quite incredible. Like Colapinto the week before, how he managed to avoid Lawson.
At the start.
Yeah, look, up until the point that Ocon, so his teammate, reminded us of his faults, which saw him drop out of the top 10, Haas are actually quietly doing something here. There's a couple of things. One I want to say is, if I were a betting man, which I'm not, and I certainly don't condone it, Ocon will not be there next year. Ocon is he's in that really awkward position where he's at that age now where he's not good enough to go to the top teams. And the teams that would look at him need to think about younger talent and, ideally people that bring in probably more sponsorship dollars.
Is on his way. He won't be a Hulkenberg where he just somehow seems to just remain.
Yeah, true. Well, the Hulk's cool, dude. But look, with 2 races in for Haas, 2 solid points hauls, no dramas, no did not starts, no imploding Ferrari engines. See what I did there with the customer engines, Mercedes, McLaren, we'll get there. Just more points, of which, in racking up, Behrman continues to show the world just how good he is. Gents, you'll recall that Behrman actually started his F1 career in a Ferrari when he was called in for Sainz in 2024. I think when Sainz had his appendix out, Ollie Behrman came in. He did 2 races, I think it was, for Ferrari, where he pointed as well. It's no secret that he will take a permanent seat in Ferrari. I think everybody's aware of that. If you're not, now you are. But I want to pose a key question to you both. So last year, nobody would have suggested that Lewis would stick around for longer than his 2-year contract, right? He was again, ignore this time last year where he came first in the sprint race. The reality is, from a GP perspective, he was shit, they were shit, and his demeanor, we've all spoken about it, he was odd last year. But he's now in his 2nd year. It's fair to say that the current Lewis we're seeing, who is feeling better than he ever has, is having the most fun he ever had, would definitely opt in for going many more years. Perhaps all this narrative from him is maybe playing the game and looking to lock in a new contract with Ferrari. I mean, Lewis is a very smart communicator. He's talking about how much he loves everything and how great everything is. It also happens to coincide with, no doubt, contract negotiations. However, if you were in charge of Ferrari, and I appreciate the weight of this question, we're talking about a 7-time world champion, questionably the best ever, would you renew Hamilton for another couple of years? Or would you hand the baton on to Behrman, who is 20 years younger, is the future of Ferrari, and avoid risk losing him to anyone else? Surely he's not going to stay at Haas for much longer.
No, as much as I like Behrman, for me, he doesn't show what Hamilton showed at McLaren and then Mercedes.
But is he better than Hamilton now?
Not at the moment. If Hamilton can keep going with how he's going, like obviously it's been 2 fucking races. It's not currently.
Even for $55 million less a year for Ferrari? I suppose money's
I don't think money's really the question here.
Ev, what are you doing if you're at Ferrari? I mean, I know you love Lewis, but
no, I think you'd have to wait. If you had V8 engines with no hybrid and no DRS, and they were small, if they were like that kind of ideal race car, then I'd definitely keep Lewis. If you're gonna keep with these complicated rules and regulations, I probably wouldn't bother spending. I don't think you're going to get 55 million euros worth of value from Lewis
a year.
Yeah, popping up every now and again. We've seen the CEO of Ferrari criticize him, and
well, he criticizes all drivers. He doesn't really hold a bar on all the drivers. So,
it'd be a lot easier to have
Enzo Ferrari,
a little Ollie Behrman.
Is he dead? Was he the one that started Ferrari? Enzo Ferrari?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, just checking. Okay, how about this one? And surely someone over at Maranello would have tabled this possible scenario to the powers that be. And think about the powerful narrative of an Italian returning to the Italian powerhouse. Would you do it for
would
Antonelli?
love that.
Antonelli at Ferrari. How does that sit with you?
If I see it happening, for sure, because of purely that narrative.
The Mamma Mia.
Yeah. I think he would be a higher contention than Behrman, even though Behrman's a Ferrari Academy person.
Yeah.
Kimi is Rosberg Jr. He came up through Rosberg's team, didn't he? Go-karting.
Yes. Yeah, go-karting. That's how he knows him.
Mercedes family?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay. Well, we know Ferrari are more likely to invest in junior talent because they did it with Charles.
Yeah, but Charles has not. Like,
Nobody could have
he's
done better in that car than Charles. I'll tell you that now.
yeah,
He
no, that's fair enough.
He deserves to win a championship.
Sainz was doing well. It was a shame too late for him,
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. F. Antonelli at Ferrari, could you see that? Would you love that?
I suppose so. I've never really seen Kimi Räikkönen as an Italian.
Serious? Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm not even going to ask. Just don't go there. Like, whatever. But, okay, yeah. So,
I am the champion.
Fuck me.
I love his dad. All right, well, let's keep moving. Just quickly rattling through the rest of the top 10. So, in sixth place was Pierre Gasly. Highest finish in a few seasons for Alpine. He also registered back-to-back points following an awful 2025. Following him in P7 was our New Zealand neighbour, Liam Lawson, who I think deserves some credit. Like, he was walking in Lindblad's shadow all of last week. So I think it's a really solid drive from him to remind everyone of his credentials. Unfortunately, your mate Lindblad, Tay, after all of our gushing of him last week, couldn't back up this week and had a fairly poor outing.
Yeah,
Must
I don't
be
know
said,
what happened
however,
there.
about the results from the Red Bulls junior team, who also in early 2025 continued to deliver better results in the Big Brother and Better Love team. That said, speaking of Red Bull, in P8 was their very own Isak, by the way. Isak Hadjar, not Isaac.
We've been pronouncing that wrong the whole fucking time.
Yes.
Yes.
Including you, Evan. So aside from spinning completely by himself on lap 1, he recovered through the field to finish in the points, which is actually quite impressive. The bad news, however, for Red Bull is that 8th place, with obviously the early retirement for Max, who was 6th at the time, leaves the juggernaut team behind both Haas and Alpine in the Constructors' Championship.
That's crazy. When I saw Haas up there.
I know it's only 2 races in, but we've also just lost 2 races. So, that's 4 races. We had Sainz, Carlos in P9, fan favourite, who grabbed Williams' first points of the season. So a small mercy, I think, for a team that hasn't had the easiest start to the new year. And who, by the way, didn't even get their other car onto track. So, again, we're going to touch on the DNSs in a minute, but Albon had some hydraulics failure. I don't know what that means, but before the race. So, it's 2 points from a possible 101 points from Williams in the first 2 rounds. So there's a lot of work to do for them. Just on that, gents, would you say? And again, let's. I know Aston Martin are, but they've been pretty upfront about how fucked they are. But is Williams the biggest disappointment on the grid at the moment? I mean, they're coming across as an absolute mess. What's going on with James Vowles? Like, has the Audi Toto got the ability to turn this team around this year, or are they thinking about 2027 already?
Just call him the Audi Toto.
Yeah.
Of him being referred to that.
It's good, huh? Not the car brand Audi.
No,
Jeff,
the shopping.
The shopping. One, they just rip
Aldi.
Aldi.
$1 shop Toto. $1 shop Toto.
It's not the real brands. They just rip it up, like rip off the real brands. So it's like
Timu Toto.
Timu Toto. Yeah, I was being a little bit polite. I like James Vowles. But anyways,
yeah,
I mean,
so do I.
Has he got the ability to turn this team around? What the fuck are they going to do?
He's had, he had all of last season.
Which they said they were focusing on this year's car last year.
Yeah, and he, will tell anyone and their mother that'll listen that they did everything on one spreadsheet. And I had to come in and we changed it. Now they've got presumably more than one spreadsheet. And you're like, what? All of this David Brett-isms. And it's like, the rubber has literally hit the road and it's only falls on him.
Yeah.
What are you doing? You're owned by a hedge fund, so they shouldn't be worried about needing cash. Even if they don't spend 140 million, they'll always have access to plenty of money. And so, what it is that you're doing, it's only up to him. All those org charts he would have climaxed over, and he's really fucked it up. And Like,
How do you get the car to be overweight? How does that happen?
Well, it clearly is that he's hired the wrong people.
yeah. You needed to hire the right people in the first place to recognize the deficiencies in each team.
Yeah.
And so I think that they've hired people, and then perhaps, like a lot of management, they think that, oh, well, that person's just overreacting if they're saying we need more people in our team, or you might need someone different. We don't. And guys like James Vowles are when guys like that get in charge, the wages
The milk
don't.
monitor.
Yes, the wages don't go up because guys like that think that everybody's being a fair wage. I think that's when I was your age, that would have been a lot of money for me 25 years ago.
Yeah, that's exactly how we would talk.
Yeah. And all that talk about like Red Bull doubling salaries to get people to go over to them. And like, he's not the kind of guy who's going to throw money at.
Well,
at
hedge
at
funds
it.
aren't either. They
Yeah,
don't throw money at that
But
sort.
you need
Anyways,
to. This is
yeah.
a money pit.
So you think
You
it's a
need to
talent problem?
attract.
This is
Yeah,
a
I
talent
think so.
problem.
Yeah,
is a
it's
performance
not a
problem.
very the talent pool is not very deep. And now you're seeing people going into, with all of the streaming that's coming and all of the things like Drive and Netflix, they all need analysts and they all need experts.
Yeah.
And so now, like, people like Bertie Collins is on Sky, and all these people who were once
true.
that
Yeah.
world, and they're not there anymore. And that's someone with decades of experience
Interesting.
that's gone.
Do you think the talent is getting taken elsewhere to, that's not so much being utilized?
We've got a whole new team in Cadillac, and half
so they
of
have
their
to come from somewhere.
half of their base was in. Well, it came from Sauber, but they needed to expand that as well. So half's in America, half's in Europe. Like, yeah, everybody's needing the best of the best.
Well, I'll tell you what. If they don't have the best of the best, they're going to have to find them because I can't
It's
imagine to go.
shocking.
I think everybody was quite excited, and in fact, James Vowles definitely was about the fact that they finished 5th in the championship last year. It's a long way down now with 11 teams, and they look pretty awful.
I mean, the
and
car
they've got
looks
two very
great.
good drivers. They've got 2 very good drivers too that would be sitting there. I mean, let's not fucking beat around the bush. Carlos Sainz was umming and ahhing about Williams. That was pretty clear.
Yes,
He took a risk to go to them. He bought into Vowles'
his
vision,
father
I
said he
guess.
should have gone to Audi.
Yeah,
And-
well,
Yeah.
I mean, they've at least got. No, they haven't got more points because they had a pretty bad weekend. But anyways, all right, look, let's quickly last 10th place, and this is wild. Franco Colapinto, final points available. His first points as an Alpine driver.
Well
The
done to
Argentinian
him.
was able to secure the 10th spot, a result that actually he would be pretty dirty about because aside from running at the front of the grid for a chunk of that race, he actually looked likely to finish higher before ex-Alpine driver Esteban Ocon actually hit him, which surprisingly Ocon accepted full responsibility for. He quickly jumped on the radio and took the blame immediately, which even surprised me. He apologized on social media. He apologized in person. He was clear it was his fault. But, Jens, did you know that following this incident, Colapinto's own management put out a public statement preemptively asking Colapinto's fans not to attack Ocon?
That's what I was wondering, if it was
Yeah.
coming down to that, if that is why Ocon was like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, he's like, I don't need the death threats. I don't need the death threats.
Like,
and I'm not quipping about that. I'm not taking the piss, but this is obviously connected to what happened to Jack Doohan. All the death threats, by all accounts, were directed to him from Colapinto fans because they wanted him to get the fuck out so Franco could have the seat at Alpine, and they were pretty vile. Obviously, we've seen the Drive to Survive, but Jack's also come out and spoken about it. Yeah, I guess his management were keen to avoid another PR disaster. Anyways, that's your top 10. Before we move on, there's just some carnage to cross off because the finishing order only tells you half the story of the Chinese Grand Prix. Tay, you've touched on it.
What's the starting order?
The other half is everything that didn't finish, or in some cases, never even started. So this is the first time, at least I think in my time watching F1, which would be coming up 10 years, 4 cars didn't even start the Grand Prix. 4 out of 22, so nearly a fifth of the grid. Bortoletto's Audi was pushed off the grid before the formation lap. Albon was going to start on the pit lane, but then had hydraulics failure, and he couldn't get going. So that's 2 fine, unfortunate, but it's manageable. And then there was McLaren, both of them, Norris and Piastri, the reigning constructors champions, the team with both the drivers and constructors titles from last season, not because of one problem, because of two completely separate problems on the same component, the electrical side of the Mercedes power unit. They couldn't communicate it with on Norris's car. They couldn't even fire up Piastri's on the grid. And albeit Lando, latent mail before the formation lap, was that Lando was going to start from the pits. And as he got close to the race, he was still fucking sitting in the actual garage. And everyone's like, And then suddenly you hear all this mad panic because they're wheeling Piastri's car off because it's shat itself. So they end up retiring both cars before the race even started. Andrea Stella stood in front of the media and said, and I quote, "It is quite exceptional and uncharacteristic that you have two terminal problems at the same time on the same component at the same race." For Norris, it was the first DNS of his 8-year F1 career. He actually sat in the car for the opening laps. He left his fire suit on. He left his helmet on. For Piastri,
Put me in, coach.
And this is the one that probably stings a lot. He has now failed to start both Grand Prix of 2026. In Melbourne, he crashed on his reconnaissance lap. In China, the car wouldn't fire up, as we've just said, on the grid. He has not completed a single racing lap in the Formula One Grand Prix this season. Now, managed to get 6 in the sprint in between, but not one lap of a Grand Prix this year. And his reaction afterwards was actually quite measured. He said, "It's been a while since I watched 2 Grand Prix on TV." So McLaren have launched a joint investigation with Mercedes HPP to figure out what happened. But boys, I have 2 questions, and I want honest but genuinely objective answers, all right? We're going to start with Oscar. We're not going to talk technical side of it. I think to your point last week, Ev, nobody really knows what the fuck's going on when something's breaking down. It's taking a while to figure these things out. So it's not about any of that. It's not about whether or not Mercedes is withholding information. And this goes back to what we were talking about last week's pod, where, you know, I quipped earlier about the fact that there are no issues with Ferrari customer teams and the Ferrari engines, what's going on between Mercedes and their customer engines. But this is about the drivers. So based on where McLaren seem to be now, and the chance that the likes of Mercedes and Ferrari will continue to dominate the next few years, is there a risk that Oscar Piastri is going to look back on last year and realize it was his one and only chance to win a drivers' championship?
I think it'll be his one and only chance.
You don't think?
No, obviously this year is a wash already. To think that, I don't think there was anything that he could have done last year. It's the team orders that he followed.
We're talking earlier about, you know, you've got your Antonellis, you've got your Behrmans, you know, you've got some pretty solid seats in at those core teams such as Mercedes, you know, Red Bull. If it's not in a McLaren, I worry that Oscar's time is going to pass him. You know, if he spends too much time in a shit car, is he at risk of becoming Danny Ricciardo?
Or Webber. Yeah.
Or Webber. Oh, any fucking Australian.
Yeah, any Aussie.
Okay, all right. The next question, and this is where the idea of being objective was flagged. I genuinely want you guys to be objective here, right? Rather than critical for the sake of being clowns.
Sure.
But is Lando Norris in danger of becoming the fastest forgotten world champion in F1 history? Like, his car, he didn't start, right? He had a pretty mediocre week in Melbourne. But it's like, oh, Lando's not coming out, and that's that. We're moving to everything else. Like, there was no talk. Like, there's no hoo-ha about Lando Norris. Ev, once upon a time, you were seen as royalty for being a F1 world champion, weren't you?
Yeah, you still are.
Are you? Is Lando?
It's Norris?
Because nobody fucking talks about him. You never... I mean, again, I get it's a bad start for McLaren. Where's Zach Brown, by the way? Where the fuck is Zach?
He's hanging out playing tennis.
But, like, I'm serious. Is Lando, like, have we all moved on so quickly? And now... to go from being a world champion to a car that may not even feature in the top 4, like...
I have something to say to that, but you're not going to like it, so I don't want to say it.
Well, are you saying it just because you want to, like, rip on Lando?
Is it going to be boring?
No, I generally feel it's objective. I'm not taking it from a subjective point of view. I generally do feel like I'm being objective here. But
Say objective again.
Yeah. Objective. I generally don't think Oscar should have won last year.
No, you mean Lando.
I'm sorry, Lando.
I was
Sorry,
going to say,
Norris.
you genuinely didn't think Oscar
Yeah.
should win last year. And
Sorry,
yeah, no,
sorry,
you're right,
sorry.
because he didn't.
Yeah, no, I know. Sorry.
Yeah, you're right. That
Norris.
was boring.
Why?
Yeah.
They had the best car. They had the best car on the grid.
No,
He was the best, He was the best driver at McLaren.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
All the data says he was. All right, okay,
Nah.
let's move on. Lastly, as I said, only 18 cars starting the race from a possible 22. And noted earlier, another 3 went on to retire during the race. So you had both Aston Martins and obviously Max. We're not going to cover Max's DNF nor Stroll because, well, it's Stroll. And if we're honest, I think everyone was expecting Aston Martin DNFs. But I think it's worth using the Alonso DNF to talk about a few things. So 35 laps in, Honda vibrations. There's some pretty wild visuals of Alonso going around and him literally letting go of the steering wheel at like 200 kilometers per hour because his hands were so fucked. The same issue, by all accounts, that's plagued this team since preseason, except this time apparently it's worse than any session before. His words after the race was, "I was struggling to feel my hands and my feet. It was worse today than any other session this weekend." He also waved, like genuinely sarcastically waved to Sergio Perez as Perez drove past him. He was lapping him and he just puts his hand out and waves to him like he's on a Sunday drive.
It was
just sit with
great.
that for a moment. Adding to matters, Adrian Newey wasn't even in Shanghai. Aston Martin said it was planned. He splits his time between the races and the factory. And as we didn't break it, but I think we were pretty close to kind of being some of the first to talk about it. Probably because it wasn't factually correct, but you know, we don't do facts here. We just run with rumor. Leading into this week, Spanish F1 pundit Antonio Lobato reported that Aston Martin are now actively looking for a new team principal. So that has gotten traction, which means Newey, who obviously only took that team principal role in November, may be about to hand it over. And the name that obviously keeps coming up is Horner. Gents, putting aside the Horner rumours, is there a version of the Aston Martin story that ends well this year?
Yeah.
You're pretty confident to the
they
point
finish
where
a race.
predictions in a minute.
I'm
finish
very
a race.
confident. No, I think by halfway through the year, and we've got this big 5 weeks off, I think you get Christian Horner, let Toto buy his stake in Alpine, if that's what he wants. Because I think they gave Adrian Newey, Lawrence Stroll gave him a percentage of the company, of the racing company.
Yeah, he's got equity.
Yeah, so match that or double it
With Horner.
Like,
and then job's done.
You're saying Horner is worth more than Newey to Aston Martin?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, you don't.
That's a big call from you because you have a lot of disdain towards the bloke. Like,
yeah.
But you also.
Say
but
what
I
you
don't
will,
think
he's-
he respects him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He knows what he can
From a
bring.
racing perspective. All right.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. Look, I want to. Oh, sorry, Tate. You agree? Okay, cool. Right.
I can see how antsy you are.
Just realizing the time, you know. For the newcomers, before every race this year, we lock in our predictions on the record. There's no excuses. There's no take backs. Then we sit here and account for ourselves like adults or something approximating adults. We've got 5 categories. Let's quickly run through them and see who our idiot of the week is.
Yeah.
First category, race winner. I had Hamilton. Ev, you had Russell. Tay, you had Russell. Nobody got the winner. Tremendous. 0 points across the board. 3 idiots confirmed. The rest of the podium. So I had George and Max. So George finished second. That's half a point. Max retired. That's not. Ev, you had Kimi and Lewis. Kimi won the race, so it doesn't count. But calling Lewis third was correct. So also half a point for you. And Tay, you had the same as Ev. So same situation, same outcome. So half a point out of 2 for us all to kick it off. Next up, we had the sprint winner. Ev and I both had Russell. Tay, you went Hamilton. So myself and Ev both bank a point here. Tay, you do not. Next was biggest surprise of the weekend. This one needs a little bit of discussion. So I went Hadjar within 10 seconds of Max, built off this idea that number 2 driver never gets close to Max. Now, Max retired, so you can't technically be within 10 seconds of someone who isn't in the race. I could be inclined to give myself a point there, but I won't. No, fair enough. Yep. Ev, your surprise of the weekend, which sounds even more foolish now than it did when you said it, was that an Aston Martin top 10 in the sprint. Your theory there this time last week was, being that of the laps that they did do in Melbourne, they weren't wildly off, and because it was a smaller race, they should be able to pull out something.
That's some sound reasoning.
Yeah. You should actually get negative points for that, so you definitely don't get any. Tay, You went Berman in the top 5, of which obviously he finished 5th. So you get a point, which takes the score to 1.5 out of 4 for Evan and I, and 2 out of 4 for Tay, because so that's not bad. And then the last category, which was the biggest disappointment of the week. So I had McLaren scoring fewer than 10 points in the Grand Prix. They did 0.
There you go.
Right. So there you go. 2.5 out of 5 for me. Ev, you had Hudger having a poor race. He spun on lap 1 and still finished 8th in the points. And by comparison to Max, he didn't have a poor weekend.
Well,
so 0 points for you. And you finished again, as our supposed resident expert, last with 1.5 out of 5. And then Tay, you had Oscar out of the top 10, which gives you another point and a final score of 3 out of 5 to take home this week's prize, which is our Idiot of the Week, which is something you should be very, very proud of, mate. So well done on that. Any words you'd like to give your fans, Tay, around your...
I'd just like to thank all that support that's out there for me. I couldn't have done it without you all.
Back at the factory. Yeah,
all the people back there.
Right, well, speaking of pride and real stakes on the line, it is time for Hush, you've been paying attention. For anyone new to the show, this is our weekly quiz. 8 questions, 4 on F1, and then 4 on the culture, the history, and the trivia of the country or the city in which we've been racing in. Now, if we were rolling into Japan, we would be doing Japanese culture. We've got a weekend off of racing, so we're again looking back.
And we need something for next week.
It's about Shanghai. So Shanghai, which is obviously a city in China. Ev, city in China, just so you're clear. The rules, questions 1 through 6, you buzz in to answer, first in, first serve, get it wrong and the other can steal. Questions 7 and 8, they're the danger zone, get those wrong and you lose points. How many points? Well, that's going to be at my discretion based on entirely on the gap and how much I want to cause chaos. So first things first, we need the buzzers. You both need to pick a sound, anything you like or a quote, and that is your buzzer obviously for the duration of the quiz. Every time you want to answer, you make that sound. This is a non-negotiable and historically very funny, if not disappointing. Taylor, you are up first.
What have you got?
Give us your buzzer. Yeah, okay, I like it. It's topical. It's clever. There you go. He's getting the gist of it, Ev. We're 4 episodes in, but he's
pretty
moving,
good.
Baby.
It's pretty good.
All right, Evan, what do you got? Buzzer.
Yeah, in honor of Shanghai and China, my buzzer is, oh, baby, just you shut your mouth.
I love that. David Bowie. Great. China Doll? Is that the name of the song?
China Girl.
China Doll. Right. Okay, going into the quiz. Ev is on 2, Digby on 1, Tay on 0. Tay, you've just won the prediction round. The floor is yours, mate, so do something with it. 8 questions. Here we go. Question number 1. Antonelli is the second youngest Grand Prix winner of all time. We know Max Verstappen is the youngest, but who held the record before both of them?
Baby, just shut your mouth.
What do you got, Ev?
Sebastian Vettel.
Oh, snap. He's got it, ladies and gentlemen. 21 years and 73 days. The 2008 Italian Grand Prix at Monza. Then after him comes Leclerc. He was 21 in 2019. And then Alonso, who was 22 in 2006. Obviously, Verstappen smashed a lot of them. And now here's Antonelli. Right, question number 2. Including Antonelli, how many Italians have won a Formula One Grand Prix?
Kimi Räikkönen.
Oh, he's quick. What do you got?
Probably 5.
Oh my God, you're guessing? Oh, you came in so hot, I thought you knew.
I know, because I didn't register the whole question.
Fucking hell. Fuck me, spare me. Ev, you going to have a crack? It's a free pass, mate.
So he's wrong, is he? It's not 5.
Yes, he's wrong.
I'll say 4.
You're also wrong. 16.
Yeah.
He's the 16th Italian race winner in F1 history. And
I was
first,
thinking
as I
of...
noted,
No, I was thinking of what you said about the driver's champion.
All right.
There's only been one. Hasn't there?
I have no idea.
Ev?
Anyways, question number 3. He won't know. Question number 3. Oscar Piastri failed to start 2 consecutive Grand Prix this season. Who was the last driver in F1 history to DNS 2 races in a row? These are all questions that the answers were revealed during the broadcast. Just so you know. Who was the last driver in F1 history to not start 2 races in a row? Take a guess. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There is something connecting.
It was brought up. Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Jensen Button.
Wrong. Ev, you gonna have a crack or you
No,
don't?
I don't know.
All right. Oh, thank you for acknowledging that rather than wasting everyone's time. The answer was Bruce McLaren in 1969.
Oh, see, I was thinking of McLaren. That's why I went with Jensen.
Okay.
I remember hearing them talk about Bruce McLaren. That must have been it.
Yeah.
Since you've been paying attention. It was 57 years ago in a car bearing his own name, which is now also the car that left Piastri in the garage. Question number 4. Lewis Hamilton holds the record for the most podium finishes at the Shanghai International Circuit. How many? Come on, boys.
Kimi. I'm probably wrong here, but I did see this number.
Again.
I think it's 9.
Wrong.
Is it 8?
Ev? No, it's not 8. Go the other way. It's 10. It's 10.
Ah, come on. I wasn't
it
that
was his
far
10
off.
10 podiums at Shanghai. More than any other driver in the history of that circuit. He's obviously also had the most wins there with 6. What do we got? 1-0 to Ev. Question 5. Where does Shanghai rank? And now we're moving, into the city culture / trivia questions. Where does Shanghai rank among the top 10 most populated cities in the world?
Maybe just took well. Is it the number 1?
Negative. It is not. Tay? Top 10. You've got 9 chances.
I think it's like 3 or 4. I'll say
You
3.
got to pick one. All right. It's 5th. It's 5th. It has a population of around 29 million people. The cities head of it are New Delhi, Tokyo, Dhaka, and Jakarta. So Jakarta, I believe, is the number 1 most populated with something like 39 million people.
Fuck.
But Shanghai is bigger than all of Australia's population in one city.
Well,
Question
anyone
number 6.
above top 5.
The Shanghai International Circuit's layout is designed in the shape of a Chinese character. What does that character mean? Do not say Mickey or Minnie Mouse.
Hang on, repeat it again.
Yeah, I understand. I understand what he meant.
The layout is designed in the shape of a Chinese character. What does that character mean? It was talked about. Good old Teddy talked about it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The sucky thing is that I'm watching
definitely not the
F1 TV, so I don't always get their commentary.
Well, do your research. It's pronounced the Shang, meaning upward or above. It was deliberately designed that way by Herman Tilke, who drew the circuit in the shape of the character when viewed from above. Right, boys, we're in the danger zone here. Ever's up 1-0. Tay's got to roll the dice here. The question is, does he go early or does he go late? Question number 7. Shanghai is home to the world's fastest what? I know you love my Melbourne tram question a few weeks ago.
No,
you guys are the worst trivia partners in the world.
No, I know. Well, got to give us a moment to think about it.
Not long, though. If you don't know, you don't know. You're not like going to... I mean, you might
Well,
guess
I
it.
can guess at it.
Okay, go then. Go. Guess.
Well, I was going to say train, but I'm pretty sure that's still the Shinkansen in Japan. I don't know.
Ev?
Is it the train?
It is the train. Well done, Ev. Fucking Tay, you fucking stupid.
Taylor wasn't looking. Taylor wasn't looking at Ollie,
Stu.
and Ollie just had this went white, and it was like, and Taylor wasn't paying attention. I'm like, there you go.
Oh my God, Tay, you've just blown the quiz because you actually lose a point for it, and Ev gets a point for it.
So 2 to -1.
2 to -1. Yeah. It is home to the fastest commercial train, the Shanghai Maglev. It connects Pudong International Airport to downtown Shanghai, reaching a top speed of 431 kilometers per hour.
I thought the Shinkansen was still the fastest.
What else was going to be fast?
Exactly. That's what I was trying to think. It's just like...
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, question number 8 was Shanghai, like Melbourne, is renowned globally for its coffee culture. To the nearest 1,000, how many cafes does Shanghai have? The answer is 7,600.
How many vending machines? Yeah.
Yeah, well done. You are equal.
Fucking hell.
You are. Oh, Ev is racing
He's
ahead.
winning.
He's on 3.
Yeah.
He's on 3. Tay, you are still on 0. And
No,
Debbie's
I know.
You, and he is
I know how to
me.
count.
Oh, that is it. Do you? That is it for Hush. You've been paying attention for another week. It is time for the final segment. 3 stories from this week that have nothing to do with race results. Well, as I alluded to, one case, there is a story that has everything to do with race results, but also involves an Oscar. It is time for What's Verstappening. For the newcomers, this is our version of Pardon the Interruption. A few topics, quick takes, no filter. I'll give you the context, and then Tay and Ev have about 30 seconds each to tell you what they think. What you do with this core information and opinion is entirely your problem. Only 3 topics this week, gents, given how much we've already covered off earlier. Topic number 1. The F1 wins an Oscar while Oscar loses at the F1. Sunday, the 15th of March 2026 was, by any measure, a big day for Lewis Hamilton. He stood on a Formula One podium in Ferrari red for the first time, and then, while he was still in Shanghai, still in his fire suit, still processing all of that, the F1 movie won an Oscar. Best Sound, 98th Academy Awards. The film had 4 nominations for Best Picture, Visual Effects, Film Editing and Sound. It won the one that, if we're all honest, most closely reflects what actually Hamilton contributed to. He's on record saying he was in the sound booth correcting them on specific corners. Brad Pitt himself
make it go.
said Lewis could identify the exact turn by the engine note alone. The film has made over $600 million at the box office. It is the highest grossing sports film ever made. It now has an Oscar to its name. And the sequel script, Hamilton confirmed this week, is already being written. Tay, Ev, 30 seconds each. Ev, you won the quiz, so go first. Would you love to see a sequel? And if so, what's the plot?
It makes my skin crawl, that film. Nothing about it is even respectfully realistic. If anything, it's also like it's quite insulting. Like the Brad Pitt sleeping with his
the technical director,
his engineer,
technical
director, engineer, and strategist,
and a 55-kilo like millennial on the rear jack gun. Yeah, nothing about it. You can't just show up and drive in the Formula One.
Yeah, okay. So talk to us about the sequel.
Well, he's just going to kill them all off. Don't worry about it. We can move on.
I don't know how you'd make a sequel.
I heard rumors that it was going to be a merger with Days of Thunder.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise and
Brad.
The geriatrics movie.
I don't know how that becomes an F1 thing, though. That just becomes another racing movie.
Who knows? Okay, Tay, your point, or have you said what you wanted to say on that?
Yeah, I was just going to bring up the fact that there's talks about doing a Days of Thunder and F1 collab.
Okay, sorry, I stole your thunder. No pun intended.
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay. Topic 2: lights not out but off for Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. So this one was confirmed on race morning in Shanghai, so it landed right as everyone was focused on the grid, except for those that weren't on the grid. As we flagged was coming, Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, rounds 4 and 5 of the 26th season have been cancelled. The Iran, US, Israel conflict has made both those countries unsafe to race in. The FIA and Formula One group made the call together, and they were very clear the races will not be rescheduled. They will not be replaced. The season is now 22 races. The financial hit is significant. I think Bahrain and Saudi Arabia between them pay some of the highest hosting fees. Thanks, Bernie. On the calendar, estimated around like $100 million combined. But here's the silver lining for the teams, which we kind of bridged a little bit previously. There is now a 5-week gap between the Japanese Grand Prix at the end of March and the Miami Grand Prix at the start of May. And every single team on the grid is now pointing at Miami as the target for their first major upgrade package. Mm-hmm. The development race, which was always going to define this season, just got a very clear first checkpoint. There's even talk that maybe the F1 will introduce a testing weekend. Tay, Ev, 30 seconds each. Who actually benefits most from that 5-week window before Miami? And is there a team you'd be genuinely worried about if they didn't use it well? Ev.
Aston Martin. And if they can figure that out, and they would have presumably an incredible car. They all need it. If Williams need to drop like 20 kilos or something, and the same with, as reported, for Red Bull.
Yeah.
So they need that.
McLaren needs it. I mean, everyone but Ferrari and fucking
and Mercedes.
Ferrari,
Ferrari can use that time. Yeah. So it's, I guess, Mercedes don't have the least to gain, shall we say.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm actually really excited for Miami. It's, I think, genuinely a shit track, but if cars are bringing devs there, it could be really fascinating.
Yeah, it could be great.
Tay, what's your take?
I was going to bring up Williams and Aston Martin.
Williams, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'd be really worried if they come out at Miami and they're awful. You'd be really worried. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Easy.
But I'd be curious to see, like, I mean, is it like a crunch period for the next 5 weeks for all the teams, you know, like to have
suspect
that
it.
sort of time and be
But
like,
they'll
all
all
right.
go home, right? They're not going to the Middle
Yeah.
East. They'll all go home. They'll all be in their
No.
factories and the Sims.
Yeah.
It's going to be really interesting what the F1 do to fill this gap, because everybody complains about how long the winter break is, and that's only 3 weeks, right?
Well, that's winter for you. It's summer for the rest of the
whatever.
world.
Shut your mouth. Yeah. Okay, topic number 3. I'm taking my toys to the Nürburgring. Max Verstappen, who has called the 2026 regulations a joke, fundamentally flawed, and suggested that anyone who enjoys them doesn't understand racing, has signed up to race at the Nürburgring 24 hours in May in a Mercedes, paid for by Red Bull, under his own team banner, the Verstappen Racing. He's doing a preparation race, the NLS2, whatever the fuck that is, this weekend, the 21st of March, which apparently he requested to be moved forward a week so it didn't clash with the Japanese Grand Prix. Now, many of you may recall that last year Verstappen first snuck onto the Nordschleife under the fake name of Franz Hermann. He broke the GT3 lap record. He won his first Nordschleife race, and nobody found out until it was over.
In a Ferrari.
This time he's back, full commitment, the green hell, 24 hours in a car that works. Tay, Ev, 30 seconds each. Is Max doing this because he genuinely loves racing and needs the outlet, or is this a man who is slowly, quietly checking out of F1?
I think both.
No, you can have both. That's good, Ev.
He clearly enjoys the lack of spotlight.
Restrictions? Oh, spotlight.
Yeah, like not having to do media at these types of things. He just gets to do what he wants.
He gets to race.
Yeah, that's all he wants to do, and to have a competent car. And GT3 has had a long history for these, well-established rules. So it's not like it's very evenly matched in GT3. So yeah,
But Nürburgring's completely different, right? These are all different manufacturers, different cars. I don't know a lot about it, but can you enter
GT3
anything?
has different levels, different.
Yeah.
So, beg your pardon. All right. So
Yeah.
Nürburgring is part of the GT3. It's all the same series.
Well, the Nürburgring's just a track.
It's just a track.
Yeah. I'm thinking of Gran Turismo, where just everybody's in different cars.
Yeah, that's at Le Mans.
Oh, beg your pardon. Okay.
Yes.
And is it Daytona 24 hours, stuff like that?
Just on that, like you say, both, Ev. But
Yeah.
Are you guys surprised Red Bull's allowing this? Or again, does this just indicate how much power he has? Like what Max says is what Max gets.
Yeah, I think they've learnt from last year with Christian and Helmut.
Yep.
Yeah, and they're very, what would you say, like
Regiment.
very conscious of making
What he
themselves look like he can do what he's good here. He doesn't have
cool.
to worry. Yeah.
I'm cool.
Yeah. They want to be seen as like the cool parent.
The cool
Red Bull.
parents. Yeah, I like it.
Just wait.
Well, they are the adrenaline brand, right? Like it fits the mold.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go. And it's decked out in Red Bull shit too.
Yeah,
like,
that's
the
right.
car
exactly.
looks sick.
I think if anything, it will do them a world of good.
Do him a world of good, right? Like he'll be able to just come back a little bit, maybe less wound up.
Yep.
Yeah. He's incredibly passionate about his team.
His racing
whether it's
team.
in the sim or
Is it just a sim racing team, or is this like the Gran Turismo movie where he's turning these guys into?
So there is one.
races?
So his thing that I saw when he was talking about it was that he's giving them a platform to get into sim racing to then
Because
allow
go-karts
them
too expensive.
potentially get into proper racing, a bit like the Gran Turismo stuff. So
Yeah.
he was talking about one of his guys that ended up doing just that.
Yeah,
And
cool.
he seems to be doing quite well. I've forgotten his name. But to your original question, I think he has checked out a little bit of F1 just because of where it's
We've
at
said
right
that for a
now.
little while now, though.
Yeah, exactly.
I think he just has big interests.
Yeah.
But he loves racing. He's just passionate about racing in general.
And I would be too if I had all the money to travel the world and could race whatever I wanted.
Yeah,
I mean, why
Yeah.
wouldn't you? What a life.
But he also comes from pedigree of races, his mum and his dad. So, like,
And
they've
then,
brought him
I
up
mean, again,
with...
let's talk about his daughter, who's then also got the PK genes, right?
Exactly, yeah. So,
Hopefully just the
I'm
racing
sure...
ones. Right. What a week it was.
Yeah, the
Wow.
correct R.
We reviewed the Chinese Grand Prix that had a 19-year-old Italian win in a Mercedes, a 7-time world champion, finally crying champagne tears in red, 4 cars that couldn't even make the grid, a 4-time world champion retiring and then absolutely losing the plot in the media pen, and a podium announcer who somehow managed to bring Kimi Räikkönen back to life. from an F1 sense. He's not dead. We sorted the prediction scorecard. We did the quiz and we covered some key headlines from the outside world. Not a bad day's work. Next week, we are back with episode 5, Japan Grand Prix preview, Suzuka, the last race before Formula One disappears for 5 weeks. We won't, though. The jury is out, but Suzuka is regarded as one of the greater tracks on the calendar. Now the ask. Every week we ask you to do one thing. This week, find one person in your life who watched the Chinese Grand Prix and still confused as fuck about what they watched. Send them this episode. Let them hear 3 people who are equally confused but significantly more opinionated argue about it for an hour and a half. Like, subscribe, share. It costs nothing and it means everything. And if you're watching on YouTube, which you should be because you get to see the actual faces we're pulling when Tay gets the predictions right, give us a sub down there too. And finally, gentlemen, this week's closing question. If you had to spend 24 hours in a car, not just the Nürburgring, just a regular car going nowhere with one current or previous Formula One driver or personality, who are you picking and why? Ev?
I'd go Lewis.
Okay, because you love him. Yep. Okay.
Oh, I'd just be like, what's it like being
with
like
Kim Kardashian?
being
Okay. Tay, what do you got? Who are you going? Who
I
you got
don't
the
even
relationship
fucking
with?
respond to that. Alonso.
Alonso, I think he'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, he'd be fun.
Yeah, okay. All right. Are you going to tell us why or are you going to make me fish for it?
I think he'd just be a good time. I think he'd be quite funny.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Tay. Well, for my take, I'd take Bernie Eccleston. Hopefully he brings his gun. See you on the road to Suzuka.
Jesus.
Bye for now. Bye.
Bow, bow, bow.